Okay, I am live. I'm going to be starting at 3:45 for those of you who are here now. I do have the chat up, so um, talking about the solar eclipse. This is the solar eclipse in Virgo, and I'm live. So please, if you engage in chat, I do have the chat open. Um, those of you who are here, if you can hear me, just let me know in the chat too. I'm just going to do some um, checking to make sure everything's running smoothly before we get started in 5 minutes. Okay. Feel like there's a bit of a delay, and I hope that this runs smoothly for us today. Yeah, we got a few more minutes between before the solar eclipse hits at 29 degrees. It's right at 3:45 Eastern Standard Time, so that's when I want to get started. Um, well, it says the chat is back up. Okay, my chat is connected and I have it up here. So I see I got some people here with me. If you're brave enough to talk to me in chat, let me know you can hear me, please. And thank you. I would appreciate that. There's a delay though. Maybe that's just my Virgo tweaking here, making sure all the details are on point. This solar eclipse is happening right on my Mercury and 1 degree away from my Mars in the first house. So it should be fun. Who knows what'll come out of my mouth? Okay. Right. I'll start the conversation. All right. Welcome, everybody. Okay, 1 minute to go. Well, actually, technically, we are in the solar eclipse. And yeah, there we have it. Yay, bunch of excitement. Um, the solar eclipse, the eclipse periods, the solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse, they are, um, let me just double check that I've got my audio on here. You can hear me. They are energetic points. So it's not an astral body or a planet or an asteroid or anything like that. It's just an energetic point where it triggers um, fate and destiny to be experienced for us to move forward on our life path. So my name is Tracy Leela with soul2soul.ca. Um, and I'm here to talk about the solar eclipse in Virgo. I'm going to give you an overview of what I'm going to cover. We're going to talk about the astrology, or I'm going to talk about the astrology. And then I'm going to get into some other stuff, some Deacon, learning about Virgo Deacon 3 and the tarot card that's associated with it, and a little sex transmutation, transformational energy. This isn't going dirty. This isn't going weird. This is just understanding the transformative energy of sexual sacred energy. And it's very powerful. So we're going to talk about that as well. But I wanted to start off this solar eclipse in Virgo at 29 degrees with this let me just pull this up to make sure that I'm on point here and um, you're still seeing me. Okay. Yeah, I did this last night. If you follow me on Instagram, I like to do candle ceremonies for, they're very powerful, setting intentions, especially working with the divine celestial energy. And so just a brief overview of what this is. It's purple and yellow for the color of Mercury, which is the host of the solar eclipse, and for Virgo, which is also associated with purple, violet, sorry, not purple, violet and yellow gold. Mercury and Virgo are both within those tones of color. Color is very healing. The black string is representing the new moon because the new moon is a black moon. This is my birth moon. This is a very special day. There's a lot going on in my chart too. I encourage you to pull your chart. You've got some time, before we get started. I'm going to light the candle and just talk about the herbs. So if you want to pull your chart, if you know how to access it, please do pull your chart. You really should know what your rising sign is. If you don't, you got to figure out your birth time so you can get that. You got to know your digits. Um, and yeah, so go do that now before we get started in the talk when I pull up the chart. But for now, I have a bay leaf in here for um, just awareness and for guidance. The symbol that I put on the bay leaf is the Dharma wheel. And this is a solar eclipse. So this is encouraging us to move forward in the Virgo part of our chart. But it's also connected with the South Node. So we have to be aware and mindful and observant of self and what is it that we also need to kind of let go of in order to move forward in this Virgo part of our chart. Um, and so the Dharma wheel's there helping us to connect with and seed with and set the intentions of that Dharma energy, shedding some karma and moving towards our Dharma. Um, I've got red maple in here for strength, for wisdom. I've got pine in there to adapt and to thrive. I've got rosemary to connect with our higher selves. And I've got cinnamon to enhance abundance and opportunity for us for the solar eclipse. New moon. So I'm just going to light the candles. There's two of them. And so it's exciting when it hits the bay leaf. Okay, so that's done. So I already gave a brief overview of what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to pull up the chart here in a moment. I do have 3 questions for you after, as I move forward, for you to contemplate, to think about within your own life, your own part of your chart, that Virgo Pisces axis. This is a solar eclipse in Virgo, but this still is connected to the Pisces part, the polarity point. And this is also connected to the new moon that we had also this month at 0 degrees Virgo. This is another new moon at 29 degrees Virgo. The 0 point, the 29th degree point are very important points. 0 is the starting, the beginning of something fresh and something new. It was connected with a new moon, and now we're at the 29th degree of culmination, um, but also with a new moon to move forward. So it's exciting. Disclaimer with eclipses or any transits really in astrology, it's going to affect everybody so differently. It may not be this big, grand experience that you have in your physical life. Um, you may not even experience much. It really depends on your birth chart, your natal chart, and how the eclipses is touching your chart. If you don't have any planets in Virgo or Pisces, you may just witness somebody else in your life experiencing something. Because remember, our charts are not only about us, it's about the other people in our lives too, because it takes more than just our own selves to have a life experience here. So other people are also involved within our chart. So it just may be you witnessing somebody else. It may be something internal that you experience, with because it's that trigger point of fate and destiny. So it's events that will happen whether you try to avoid it or not. It's fate, it's destiny. You can't control the outcome. It's going to happen. But that experience could be within. It could just be this sudden knowing and awareness, or you could just feel different. You could just all of a sudden have this new motivation to follow in a path that you were scared to follow before. Or it could be something actually physical happening in your life, something extremely substantial, and relevant and prevalent right in front of your eyes. So it really does affect us all individually and differently. And that's the thing with astrology. We know something's going to happen, and we just don't really know what is going to happen until it happens. Okay, so I am going to pull up the real-time chart. I'm just going to share my screen here. Give me one moment. If you don't know where to get your chart, let me check the chat just to see if anybody's with me. Anyone saying anything? No? Okay. If you don't know where to pull up your natal chart, you can go to either my website or soul2soul.ca. In the menu bar, you'll see where it says Access Chart. Or you can go to astro.com, or you can go to astro-seek.com. Those are the three places. It should be showing my screen right now, and you should be seeing the chart. Those are the three places that you can go to pull up your chart, if you didn't know. All right, so let me just double check that I'm okay here. I think this is pretty good. If anybody's having difficulties in hearing me or in seeing me or in seeing the chart, please let me know in the chat. I've got the chat open up here. So, but it looks like we're good to go here. All right, awesome. Okay, here we go. This is where we're at today. This is the real time clock. This is where the planets are currently as we speak, September 21st, 2025, 3:53 p.m. is right now currently. And I keep looking back because I don't want to end up with a fire behind me. But we're in the clear and clear. Okay. Uno momento. I'm just going to pull up. I don't even know if this is right. Hold on. Oh, it is. Okay. I'm going to pull up some tools so I can circle, if it lets me circle. Um, it gives me a drawing tool. So you're going to get a wonky circle. Oh, I got shapes. Okay. See if this works. Perfect. Here is the, hold on. You guys that are here with me live, you're going to witness my Virgo neuroses obsessions. Okay, I'm going to use violet because we're talking about Mercury hosting this um, solar eclipse at 29 degrees Virgo. Okay, let me get organized here. Um, okay. Um, I want to talk about briefly about the solar eclipse being with the South Node. I touched on it briefly, and I just want to reinstate this dance between the Pisces part and the Virgo part. We just finished with a lunar eclipse. And I did a live for that. And now we're here with the solar eclipse. The lunar eclipse was in Pisces. The solar eclipse now is in Virgo. Um, Mercury being the host of it. The lunar eclipse that we had was with the North Node, so it was shedding something in Pisces that we needed to move forward in Pisces. But now with the solar eclipse, we're shedding something in Virgo so we can move forward in Virgo, right? So this is the song and dance between these two polarity points. It's an axis between Virgo and Pisces. So you really got to know the topics of what that is for you in your life. And that's where you want to look to your chart so you know what houses this is for you. What house is the Virgo part of your chart? What house is the Pisces part of your chart? And do you understand what the topics are? Those are the basic foundational. I'm not going to go through it today. I did in the last one, and you can go to my website at soultosoul.ca if you want to know the basics of what the housing each house means and the topics. But for now, just know that this really is a song and dance between both parts of this access and shedding and moving forward in both parts. There's like a unity, I see it, and a unison is what I'm receiving between these parts that needs to create a balance. Um, and it's important. Um, I want to talk about the other planets that are also involved in this story. We want to look at where Mercury is. I want to talk about where Venus is as well. I'm currently, well, we're on the tail end of working with Mercury in my healing series with the planets, and then I'm going to be moving on to Venus when we move into Libra, which is just in a few days. Is it tomorrow or the day after that? The 22nd. I think it's tomorrow the sun moves into Libra. So I'm going to be moving on to Venus. And Venus does have a part to play in this as well. And I want to talk about that as well as Uranus. And so when we look at the astrology and you see these planets here, it's not just about this one experience. It's about the unfolding story of what has been and what where we're moving going forward. And so when there's a solar eclipse and that moment of destiny and fate is ignited at that exact moment that the eclipse happens, anything can happen from that point until 6 months moving forward until the next eclipse. Eclipses are happening every 6 months and they're constantly moving and changing axes throughout the zodiac. So the next axis that it's going to move into will be the Aquarius Leo axis. But right now we're in Virgo Pisces. And so from now until 6 months moving forward, events will happen either one or more. It may be something very subtle. It may be something you witness around you. It may be something very significant to you, but something will happen that's out of your control. And so this is where we can really see the unfolding story. So um, when we look at the solar eclipse and Mercury being the host of it, right? Mercury is the host. We're in Virgo, 29 degrees. We got to look at where Mercury is. And Mercury right now is in Libra. We can see Mercury right here in Libra. Um, And so we also want to look at the ruling planet of Libra, which is Venus. And Venus is right here in Virgo. So when we look at Mercury and we look at Venus and they're in each other's signs, there's this mutual reception because Venus is in Mercury's sign and Mercury is in Venus's sign. But the problem and the challenge that I see here is that these houses are in aversion to each other. They're right beside each other. So this is where astrology, I think, really plays an important role. And I really notice it really helps for me, especially being a 12th house person and being in a blind spot. The 12th house is a blind spot. When planets are in aversion, they're really not seeing each other. It's a blind spot. And so until you look at the astrology and you can see it and then you understand it and then you really feel the reflective energy, then you can be more consciously Mercury of the mind, solar eclipse, Virgo, consciously aware of details, Virgo, of what's going on relationally within this experience for you because it has to do with relationships. It's relational. Um, with Venus being involved, with Mercury being of the mind and consciousness and of communication, there's a dance and a relationship going on that's of um, the mind and being conscious of where you need to be detailed, but also where you need to kind of let go of the perfection and the obsession over it a little bit and be a little bit more like Pisces and a little bit more soulful and a little bit more trusting in it because Virgo can get really um, paralyzing with the details. So this really is a song and dance of relationship. And when we see that they're in a mutual reception being in each other's signs, um, there's I feel like there's a balance there, but there could be a blind spot too as to really being aware of the relationship aspect in regards to what's going on in Virgo in that solar eclipse and Mercury. Now Mercury's in Libra, so now Mercury, the mind and the communication is going to be a little bit more um, balanced, a little bit more on like uh, um, diplomatic, right? Libra, it's about, fairness and communicating properly. I feel like even Mercury being in Libra for me right now has me kind of slowed down because that's my first house and Mars is my first house. So it's just like you really experience the reflective energy when you start to understand the planets and what they represent for you. So also, where is Libra in your chart? What topics is that for you? Because Mercury's there right now. So what is Mercury trying to communicate to you relationally in Libra that is um, part of the story of what's going on in Virgo with the solar eclipse that's happening right now, right? So I'm trying to slow it down because astrology is a rabbit hole, like I mentioned, and when you look at one thing, it leads you to the next thing. But it's all connected. It's all interconnected. We're getting to the bay leaf. So exciting. Okay. I want to look at some aspects as well. Um, because yesterday there was let me see if I can put a line here instead. Okay. Oh, I can use an arrow. Yesterday there was a square from Venus to Uranus. Uranus is in Gemini right now. Venus was at 1 degree yesterday. Today it's at 2 degrees Virgo. But yesterday there was a square, so there was some tension between Venus, who is of relationship and balance and um, harmony. She's very social. She's in Virgo right now, but Mercury's communicating in Virgo. But Mercury is also the ruler of Gemini, where Uranus is at. So there could have been some yesterday or even the day before, even today, there's days before, days after where there could be some sudden um, communication, relationship um, experiences that came left field out of nowhere, could have caused a little bit of tension, but is also in connection to the solar eclipse new moon in Virgo right now at 29 degrees, where we're being asked to really be aware of these details that we're just needing to um, be a little bit more relaxed on so we can move forward. We'll talk about Virgo Deacon 3 and we'll get a little bit more into those details. But I just wanted to highlight this connection here, the square here between Uranus and Venus, and with Venus, sorry, with Mercury hosting the solar eclipse and Mercury being the host of Uranus currently, um, and Mercury being in Venus, the sign of relationships, we can see there's a song and dance between communication and relationships. Just again to outline that where I'm seeing it in the chart. Um, Saturn is the last one that I wanted to touch on. I mean, there's a million aspects that we could touch on. I just don't want to be here all night, and I've got some more content to go through. So I just wanted to talk about Saturn too for a moment because the solar eclipse, let me get my circle, is happening right here at 29 degrees. Well, the new moon is at 29 degrees. The solar south node's at 18, but the solar eclipse is happening right here at 29 degrees Virgo, and it is opposing Saturn. It is opposing Saturn at 28 degrees, only 1 degree apart. It's still very significant in Pisces. So again, it's that polarity point between Virgo and Pisces. What is it in the Pisces part of your chart that you need to be more diligent about? That you need to be a little bit more structured and be a little bit more consistent in your actions to be moving forward in the Pisces part of your chart. The North Node is in the Pisces part of the chart right now. And so this is where we're being asked, this is a new part of our life that we are asked to explore, and to move forward, create some change, set some intentions there, right? But we have the solar eclipse in Virgo right now. So we're also seating in the Virgo part of our chart. So where do you need to be diligent in the Pisces part of your chart that will also affect the Virgo part of your chart? It's like a song and dance again, back and forth, creating that balance. I really see it as a beautiful point of union of creating balance between the Virgo and Pisces part of it. The Virgo is the Virgo part is the analysis. It is the ones and zeros. It's the binary code. It's the obsession over the details. You got to get it right. You got to get it right. It's not pretty. Just got to tweak it. And that's when we break it, right? And that's where it's like, oh, Virgo just needs to chill out and relax. And that's where we can get stuck. That's where the stagnant energy can get really stuck with the Virgo energy. Whereas the Pisces is asking you to be a little bit more soulful, a little bit more out of the box, a little bit more outside of all those details and think a little bit more um, universal. Jupiter traditionally rules Pisces. So think of that bigger picture, that more expanded view that Virgo can sometimes get lost in. Just to understand the two differences, the polarity points between Virgo and Pisces. They both have this kind of obsessive quality, but in a different way. You know, Virgo's a little bit more on the details, and Pisces is a little bit more like creative and like soulful and universal about it. So it's finding that balance in between. And Saturn really is asking us to create structure. The new moon seeding point solar eclipse in Virgo is really like look at the details, but don't get too stuck and too rigid on the details. Don't get too trapped and lost. Virgo can get lost in details, like bring it back. Um, so you can move forward. There's a balance between the two that needs to be um, arranged and worked through that is on a relationship basis. There's other people involved. This isn't just about you. This is relational. And whatever's happening in the Gemini part of your chart is part of the story as well. Because Uranus is creating some tension there to trigger this, creating things to happen, right? Sudden conversations, sudden outbursts, sudden experiences, sudden moments, sudden realizations, right? This is Uranus. This is like revelational, future oriented, that's disruptive. It needs that change. It's going to break something. You know, what's going on in the Gemini part that is part of the story, the unfolding story. And Uranus spends quite some time in a planet. It's an outer planet. And Saturn is in Pisces, but Saturn is retrograde. So you already are aware of whatever it is in the Pisces part that you need to be structured and diligent with, because Saturn's been there for the past 2.5 years, trying to make you aware of it. Um, and so Saturn was in Aries and it's been retrograding back into Pisces to revisit that spot again, to fine tune what else is there? Is there anything else that we need to get on point with, or like to just be really solid and structured in what we're doing that needs to also be worked through in the Virgo part of your chart? Um, so these are the aspects, the key aspects that I'm seeing with this solar eclipse. I'm just going to go to the chat just to see if I got anybody. Um, Anyone talking to me? No. Okay. Any questions along the way, please do put it in the chat. I will be watching. Okay. Um, so I wanted to go through 3 questions for you to ask yourself. Sorry, give me 1 second here. I just want to get myself a little organized here. I'm gonna go through 3 questions to begin asking yourself, because questions are very, very important in our healing journey and our self-awareness and in gaining answers that we need from our higher selves, right? Working with the energy of rosemary, connecting to your soul self, but to receive answers through your intuition from your soul self. You really want to ask yourself the right questions. And oftentimes we ask ourselves the wrong questions, but the right questions, simple questions that allow your mind to expand, but not to be fixated on when you're going to get that answer. If an immediate answer comes to you, great. But we're always looking for something a little bit more profound, a little bit deeper, and that takes some time. And those answers will come in any given moment. And the goal, the key is to ask the questions, contemplate the questions, and then just allow the questions to be. Um, a thought is never lost. And so when we think a thought, or we have a goal or a wish or a dream or a desire, we want to put it out to the universe, but you don't have to be obsessive about it and keep thinking about it constantly. It's like a one-time deal. You put the thought out and boom, it's out there in the collective conscious and it'll be there forever. You just have to remember that you put it out there and just be aware and open-minded through your day-to-day and the signs, and it will come to you. It could be a sudden moment. You could be driving and all of a sudden, boom, you'll have this idea come in and this knowing or this feeling, and you're like, you've received the answer that you've been asking back when you're here listening to me on this live. So this is how it works. So don't stress yourself. Don't overthink it. Don't try to get the answers right away. This is about asking questions and being open-minded enough to stretch yourself and allow the answers to come in the right time. So if you want to get some paper and pen and write down these questions, you can do that, because what I'm going to do is stop sharing because I'm done with the astrology, and you just get me. I'm just going to talk. I didn't even write any charts or things to put up with some notes. I'm just going to talk about the solar eclipse and the connection. These 3 questions that I have after, I'm going to talk about Virgo Deacon 3 and what that really means, because with having a new moon uh, at 29 degrees, this is a culmination. So with these questions, you really want to think about what was going on at the end of August with what was it? The end of August? The last new moon that we had. I don't want to pull up my chart. Anyways, you want to think about the last new moon that was in Virgo and what was going on in your life. I believe it was around the end of August. And that was at 0 degrees Virgo. So that is going to be connected with this seeding new moon of what it is that you want to set your intentions with now. The 0 degree is the beginning point. It is the beginning of a journey. And the 29th degree is at the end of it. That's the more matured end of the zodiac, right? Where you've been through it. You know, you've experienced a lot, and now that it's been accumulating. And so now what's your next steps, right? We're now moving into Libra season. The sun's going to be moving into Libra. We're going to be moving on to Venus in my healing series. And so what is it consciously within your mind, within the Virgo part of your chart that's been accumulating from the last new moon at 0 degrees Virgo, that is also connected to the Pisces part of your chart, that you need to, like, what is it in that part that you need to be aware of so you can uh, maybe release and surrender to something that may not be working. Like there may be too many details, so you can move forward. So we'll get into that Virgo Deacon 3. I don't want to go too forward. I'm trying to slow down. I'm going to pull up the Ten of Pentacles of the Tarot, which is connected to um, Deacon 3 and where the solar eclipse new moon is currently right now. And then we'll look at some intuition that is connected with Virgo. Uh, and we will look into the sexual transformative energy, which I also have a part that I want to read to you from Think and Grow Rich. If you have read this book, this is a fantastic book by Napoleon Hill. But there's a part in this book, there's a chapter in here called Transmutation, the mystery of sex transmutation. And again, this is not dirty. This is just understanding the true essence of sexual energy and how powerful it is in helping us with our desires to move forward in our life with manifestation. It's the energy of creation. And we have the ability to work with it. And so I want to talk about that. I'm going to read a little bit from this book and give my little insights on that. And there we have it. Okay, so the 3 questions. Let me move back in my notes here. Okay. Okay. I mean, I feel like and I do this all the time. As I said, you never know what's going to come out of my mouth I've already talked about this. So it's really, this is not going to be no rocket science. Don't expect me to be giving you questions that are just like, wow. Number one is you got to know what house topics this is for you. I want you to kind of like take this as a little workshop for yourself to chart your own chart, get your birth chart. So know your birth chart and you got to know what house topics Virgo is for you. And you're going to know this based on your rising sign. And I use whole sign houses. People use different housing systems. I use whole sign houses, where the zodiac sign is within each house. So what house is Virgo? What house is Pisces? What are the topics? I've already covered this in the beginning of this video, of this live. The second thing you want to know is what has been accumulating in the house of Virgo that is connected to Pisces. Again, I've already talked to this. Like it's like I started out with the 3 questions through this whole time, and now we're just recapping it. Um, just by knowing this information, it's going to open you up to so much because you're going to start realizing what you're experiencing and you're going to start seeing it in the chart. You're going to start seeing it with the planets, and then you're going to just start being like, whoa, this is really real. This reflective energy is real. And so you're going to trust it a little bit more. And this is the whole point of astrology, in my opinion, is when we can look at it and we can experience something and we can see it in the chart, and then we can say, okay, this has purpose. This shitty feeling, this horrible experience that I'm going through, this overwhelming time that I just don't even know how I can face this moment, these moments in my life, it's going to pass because the planets are always moving, it's impermanence, and it shows that it's part of our life evolution and our life story here in this experience. And so that is the point of it. So we want to know what's been accumulating from the new moon to this point in time of where we're at right now in regards to the topics that are around the Virgo part of your chart. What is that for you? And how does there need to be a balance with the Pisces? What is it in Pisces that's not working, that you need to be more diligent? Or what is it that you're obsessing about in Virgo that you need to be a little bit more loose about and creative and free and kind of free up yourself a little bit, be a little bit more soulful and just like let it go, right? These are a lot of questions. These are more questions. Ask yourself these things. Um, Sit with these questions. Ask yourself that, what is that? What do I do? What is it that I need to let go of? And just sit with it. It's so powerful. We don't want to complicate the process, the healing process, looking into astrology. You really want to simplify it. And the third thing is, what intentions and seeds do you desire to plant for a healthy fruition moving forward? What seeds of intention? This is a new moon in Virgo at 29 degrees. What seeds of desire, relationship, Venus? What relationship dynamic is going on in the Virgo part of your chart? And what intentions do you want to better that? But they'll also help the Pisces part of your chart. Um, yeah, take a few moments to, really think about these things. Um, like I said, write them down, and just really contemplate on it. Like, even if nothing comes to you, it's really a point of just sitting there with it and being there with it, and you'll get it. The thing, it'll come to you. All right, I'm gonna move on because I feel like I'm rambling now. And I got a whole kind of fire thing going on behind me. It's all exciting. It's feeling kind of warm. Okay, Virgo Deacon 3. Um, Virgo Deacon 3 is ruled by Mercury. Now, I'm actually going to share my chart again, just so you can see in the birth chart. Let me share this again. So you can see in the birth chart, share, where the deacons are. And then you can see where I'm talking about with the ruling. I wonder if I can, um, I don't know if this will go bigger. Okay, let me just put a circle over here. Okay, so Deacon 3 is this portion of the zodiac sign of Virgo. And you can see Mercury's right here in the middle of it. So that means that this solar eclipse, let me draw a line here. This solar eclipse at 29 degrees Virgo is in Deacon 3, which is right here. And so that is very significant because each deacon within the zodiac sign is a different expression, right? The zodiac is characteristics that add another layer to the planetary gods, right? So when a planet, every planet is its own god, its own mythological character and archetype. And when that planet is in a zodiac sign, that planet, that god now is enveloped and covered with the characteristics of that zodiac sign. So this new moon, the sun, the moon, the luminaries coming together in a dark space of intuition. We're going to talk about intuition in a moment. In the accumulating deacon of Virgo, of the mind, of consciousness, of binary code, very logical, very practical, trying to figure out the answers, um, ruled by Mercury, that just intensifies the mental, the consciousness, the importance of the communication aspect in regards to whatever relational experience is happening within the Virgo part of your chart and Pisces part of your chart. The solar eclipse, it's ruled by Mercury, and it's hosted by Mercury. Um, and it's going to well, it's like 1 degree away from Uranus too, so it's actually in coming into like a trine. It's in a good spot with Uranus, which is also ruled by Mercury. So Mercury has a big part to play with this solar eclipse, in the seeding of the intentions. And so when you ask yourself these questions, knowing that you're in a space of Virgo, for the solar eclipse, um, ruled by Mercury, hosted by Mercury, really take the time to meditate, be conscious, quiet the mind, um, understand the power of the mind and the consciousness in the ability to expand itself, to give you answers that you're seeking, that you need right now, that you may don't even know where to look. This is where we get those answers. How many times we want the answers? We want the answers. We're trying to get the answers. We're going to our friends and they give us shit because they're not therapists and they're just adding to our fuel, or they're not listening to us, or they're just, they mean well, but they're not helping us. And we're just trying to find the answers and we don't know where to go. And the place that you go is inward. The place that you go is to consciousness. The place that you go is to your Mercury, to your mind, and relax it. You go to a meditative space. You go to a place where you know that if you just contemplate and ask yourself a simple question like, what is it that I need to do to help me in this situation? As simple as that question. That is an open question that is going to allow your mind to expand, to allow the consciousness of your own consciousness, of your own mind, connected to the collective, connected to spirit, connected to your soul self, to come in and give you those answers in the most profound spiritual way in the any given moment, and in the exact moment that you need it. That's going to be so like wow to you in a moment. How you receive it could be in many different ways, but it's for you. And that's how it works. So we have to be willing to be conscious of it and ask those questions and ask the right questions, and know that the questions that we ask ourselves should be simple. We don't want to overcomplicate things. Okay, so Deacon 3 Virgo, ruled by Mercury. I think I went off on a tangent. 29 degrees, bound by, I don't want to get too complicated here. This solar eclipse is ruled by, in Deacon 3, ruled by Mercury, hosted by Mercury, but it's bound by Saturn. And if we look at the chart, I'm going to pull it down here again in a moment, but if we look at the chart, I'm just going to show you where it is. Um, this part of Saturn right here, and the solar eclipse is it leaks into, it's in Libra, but it leaks into Virgo here, the bounds. And because the solar eclipse is at 29 degrees, which is right in this, um, which is right in this little corner here, it's bound by Saturn, which is in here. And then if we look at the solar eclipse being, let me take that off because it looks like I'm pointing at Mars. If we look at the solar eclipse being opposing Saturn over here in Pisces, then you can also see the correlation. And that is astrology. Astrology is correlating, making the connections, which tells the unfolding story. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing again and bring it back to me. And I'm going to just talk again about Virgo Deacon 3, just so you understand the energy of what we're working with this solar eclipse. It's a very black and white space, this part of Virgo. This is the space of Virgo where Virgo is very black and white, and belief systems are like rule Virgo at this point. The first decan of Virgo can kind of like, it's the earlier stages. So Virgo can also have tendencies of like Pisces tendencies. It's not as rigid and as black and white as the third decan of Virgo is. And my Mercury is right here at 29 degrees. So I understand this energy very well. My sun and my moon are in the first decan. My Mercury and my Venus are in the third decan. And so this really is like, it's this or it's that. and I believe this and I believe that. And a lot of times with Virgo, it's a mental thing, it's a conscious thing, it's a detailed thing, and it's the self-sabotage can also be, depending if you have planets there natally, it can be very intense, very detailed within, and it could be detrimental if your belief system about your own self and your own self-image is at 29 degrees and you're going in there with a negative belief system and it's very black and white. And so if you have planets in Virgo Deacon 3, please be mindful, be conscious of that. This could be a very important part of what you might want to set your intentions for, depending on what planet it is in Deacon 3. Each planet represents something different, a different aspect of ourselves, right? So what is it for you? Um, Mine's Mercury and my Venus. So obviously, I think I just gave it away. My self-sabotage and its 12th house can be extremely fierce. And so I have to be extremely conscious of it all the time to stop it, awareness, stop it, bring it back, peace, quiet, consciousness, meditation. It's done. It's over. But it's also working with the belief system. So, what is it in your belief systems that's not working for you? Remember, the South Node is with the solar eclipse. So, we're talking about Virgo Deacon 3, that's very black and white. Belief systems are a huge part of this process, and we need to also shed something to move forward with the solar eclipse. So, what is it within your belief systems? Um, Virgo Deacon 3 is overworked and overly obsessive about the details. Overly, where we break shit completely, can destroy and break shit over too many details. And so self-regulation is a huge thing for Deacon 3 Virgo. And again, think about that as well. Contemplate on self-regulation, contemplate on your belief systems, on what it is that you really want to um, create a new beginning with, around, uh, within the Virgo part of your chart. That will also impact the Pisces part of your chart. Um, if you don't do something to improve negative belief systems, and the over obsessed qualities of the details, trying to get the details in Virgo Deacon 3. Now, I'm really talking about to those of you who have planets in Virgo Deacon 3. If you don't become conscious of it, and if you don't make an effort to improve on those belief systems and move into a more gray area, or at least allow a gray area to be there instead of being so rigid and black and white, something outside will make it happen for you. Something's going to get fucked up, something's going to break, something's going to be destroyed, something's going to happen. It's like Uranus energy that is going to force you to do it. And if you have planets in this deacon, you probably understand what I'm talking about. It has probably been multiple life experiences that you've had where things just break when you get overly obsessive, and when you don't know when to stop, something outside will make you stop. That is part of Deacon Virgo 3. Virgo Deacon 3 is connected to the nervous system. This part of Virgo lives on nerves. So water is so critically important. Water is necessary in order to keep our nervous system calm, in place. I know this as a medium. The spirit works through my nervous system. Mercury being at 29 degrees, Virgo, 12th house. Water is a very important part of my life that I need, and it's because of the nerves. The mind is so strong in Virgo Deacon 3. It's white hot, and worry and worry, fear, and guilt, but guilt mainly. Worry and guilt, but guilt especially is uh, a real downfall of Virgo, and especially in Deacon 3, because the mind is, again, it's just white hot, accumulative energy of the consciousness of the mind. And when those belief systems are not in a healthy space, and if we're not incorporating gray areas, it can get very destructive for us internally, for the mind internally, because Mercury is all about the mind and consciousness. Um, So it's very important to balance both sides of our brain, both hemispheres, the left side and the right side. The left side being the more analytical side, and the right side being the more creative side. Now, this is for most people, right-handed people. I'm going to say right-handed people. This is not for left-handed people. I'm a southpaw. This is for right-handed people. Southpaws were the opposite. So our creative side is the left side and our analytical side is the right side. But bottom line, we need balance. We need the logical, rational, practical, side of our brain so we don't do stupid shit, right? So we're smart and practical in our actions and what we do, and also to process information. But we also need that creative side. That's where our intuition comes in, and this is where the difference between ego versus our soul self, and not allowing that logical practical mind to take over the creative process and our intuition, because the creative process and intuition is a lot um, does things in such a different way that you can't logically process. So if you understand these two concepts, you're going to understand the difference between Virgo and Pisces. Logical side, creative side, left side, right side, or vice versa, depending on what side of hand you are. But it's about finding that balance. And Deacon 3 Virgo is all about finding that balance and balancing those hemispheres. And how fitting and how correlating, which astrology is, that we are in a solar eclipse in Virgo with a north node in Pisces. We just had a lunar eclipse, and this is the axis that we're in creating a balance of shedding in both parts, moving forward in both parts. I think it's just so cool how everything is so interconnected. I just wanted to pull up the Ten of Pentacles, which is associated with Deacon 3. Um, I always like to, this is the Ten of Pentacles. Oh, I guess I should put it up here. The Ten of Pentacles. So you can see this is of the physical world. This is a great card, but this is also, I want to talk about things to be of caution as well with this card. I think there's always a point of caution with everything. But you can see there's a relationship going on. Again, relational. This is not just about the mind, but this is about relationships and about coming to a cumulative space physically, a place of completion. And we are at a place of completion at 29 degrees Virgo, and we're moving into Libra season. And so this card is very fitting. And it really is a physical attainment and experience, physical success, material gain. But it can also be we have to be mindful that we're not moving into a space of materialism. Because this is of the material world and it's of physical attainment and material attainment, we can also fall into the trap of materialism. So it's understanding that whatever it is that we are doing on our soul's path, whatever we are achieving physically and attaining materialistically, physically, that we should be also using it for kindness and also to help the next human soul, and to be humble in its attainment. And so I think this is also an important message with Virgo and the Pisces being very detailed and being very open and creative and soulful in acquiring what it is that we need to acquire, but giving back to um, the collective, right? On a more soulful level. So I think that is an important message, and I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to do any more reading with the tarot. I just I like to pull it up in association with the astrology because tarot is also associated with the astrology. And I always like to see how everything's correlated because it just gives us a lot more trust and faith in the process. Um, so when we look at the Ten of Pentacles, I really ask yourself, what are you desiring to achieve physically? Um, physically, that needs mental focus. Physically, in this world, in your life experience, that also is relational and involves other people. What is it that you need to plant? What seed of intention that you need to plant that might need mental focus in order to communicate better, to improve the relationships? Um, really think outside the box. That throw the fucking box away. Just really expand yourself. I don't know, who needs a box? But really expand your mental focus, thinking about that physical attainment of what's accumulating in Virgo, that is um, going to also affect other people around you, that might need to be communicated in a certain way. Um, I want to talk about intuition because Virgo itself is a very intuitive zodiac sign. Um, a Virgo Deacon 3 is a natural healer. And I want to talk about, I'm going to put a disclaimer on that in a moment. Um, and I want to talk about a downfall to be cautious of when you have planets in Deacon 3. This is more so for those of you who have planets there. This could also be when you have planets transiting Virgo in your chart at Deacon 3, especially the slower moving planets. But let's move backwards for a moment. Um, with Virgo, the intuition, because Virgo is of the mind, Mercury rules it, the intuition's going to be more kind of top heavy, meaning that your crown chakra, which is connected to a spiritual sense called claircognizance, is going to be it's going to give you this sense of knowing. And this is where people, you might have heard people or even myself talk about downloads, is where you get information. You don't know how you know it, you don't know where you got it from. You just have all of a sudden you just have this knowing. And that is claircognizance. And oftentimes we have that around other people or when we're in different environments. And with Virgo Deacon 3, you really have the ability to anticipate another person's needs. Virgo is of service. And with Virgo being intuitive, Virgo's going to tune into people. And with Virgo being so detailed, when Virgo tunes into you with their detailed mind, and they also have that spiritual sense of knowing, they're going to be able to anticipate what your needs are, meaning they're going to be able to tune into you and really know what's going on. And they're going to intuitively just know it, or maybe they'll just like kind of telepathically kind of hear something because this is of the mind, or maybe they'll just have a vision because the third eye is also here in the pineal gland, which is part of your mind. So right, all our spiritual senses work together. But bottom line, something comes in intuitively, and a Virgo Deacon 3 person is able to anticipate another person, their needs, what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, what their energy, if they're off, if they're on, something's wrong. And so this is where Virgo can be, Deacon 3 could be a natural healer. Now, when I say that, I really dislike when people are like, oh, I'm a healer, because we are practitioners working in many different forms of healing energy. And we are conduits who work with healing energy. We are not the healer. Because when we say that we're the healer, we associate ego around it as if we're the healer. And we are not the healer. Healing energy comes from universal energy, which comes from the divine, which is chi, ki, um, um, Reiki, prana, the Holy Spirit. It's all the same thing. It is divine, universal energy that is doing the work of healing. And us as spiritual practitioners are conduits, and we are practitioners who work with this energy. Now, Spirit just kind of tripped my foot there for a minute. I don't know why, but I'm going to stop and leave it at that. So, um, just know that if you have planets at Deacon 3, Virgo is of service. If you've been experiencing things, um, spiritually within your mind, in your spiritual senses. it's probably connected to that. And the downfall is just to understand that at the accumulative space of Deacon 3, um, Virgo, especially with the solar eclipse being here and this new moon, if you've got planets here, any drug use can weaken the aura of a person with Deacon 3. So if this is where oftentimes, well, I'm a 12th house, so oftentimes if you are very connected intuitively, you are going to be open to your environment, which means you're open to people a lot more, which can be overwhelming. So oftentimes we want to use recreational drugs or substances in order to cope with that overwhelm of experiencing all that, but it's not healthy and it can actually weaken your aura. So you have to be very mindful and work with more natural herbals, make some ginger tea and some turmeric tea and, change up your lifestyle. Okay. So that is the spiritual senses and the intuition that comes with Virgo and Deacon 3 especially. I want to move on to the sexual transformative energy. We are coming to 4:45. I've been an hour, so good. I just didn't want to be here 2 hours like I was last time. I want to read a little bit from this book, and then I'm going to talk about. Actually, should I talk about it first and then read here? I wrote my notes and then I came here and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to kind of go with it because it's live. Okay, let me just go through my notes here for a minute to. Um, I wanted to bring up the sexual transformative energy because of Virgo. I don't think it's fair, you know? Um, I've heard another astrologer talk about Virgo, and apparently Virgo in some astrology books will say that like we're the whore of the zodiac. And I know Virgo is very sexual. People who have planets in Virgo can be of highly sexual beings. Um, I don't think the whore part, I it was just like really, but yeah. Anyways, Virgo is of an overly overall highly sexual zodiac sign. And so when we look at planting seeds and setting intentions in a space of Virgo that is accumulative, but we're also looking at the Pisces part of our chart that is of creation and creative energy and imaginative energy. How can we not talk about sexual energy? And this is sexual, transformative, transmutable energy. Um, and okay, we have to talk about the sacral chakra because the sacral chakra is that space of desire and passion and creative energy. Um, and when we talk about creative energy, that's where children are born. The fifth house is a house of, it's a creative house. It's also the house of children. It's the house of sex. And it's the reason being the house of sex, because of two people coming together, creating a third entity, a child. It is that energy of creation that is within us that is allowed to birth something into our lives, physically manifesting. And we do that through sexual energy because sexual energy is creative energy. And so I don't want us to look at sexual energy and look at this as like a dirty point. We're not talking about actual orgasms or like actual physical acts of sex. We're talking about the energy and the creative essence of sexual energy. And we are able to tap into that. Virgo Deacon 3 is another reason why I wanted to talk about this is connected to sex therapies, sex therapists, and tantric sex practices and teachings as well is within Virgo Deacon 3. And so another reason why we have to talk about the sexual transformative energy that lies within our sacral energy, which means that it's sacred. It's sacred. And it's also when we learn how to tap into it, And then we learn to tap into it and we understand the feeling of that sexual mutable energy, then we can understand that feeling more. So when we have the desire to create something, whether it's a piece of music or it's a piece of food or it's a piece of art or it's poetry or it's anything that you are creating, a project for your corporate presentation that's creating something. Um, it could be on any level. This is the energy that you want to tap into. So I'm going to read from Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. Um, and um, what's his name again? They talked about there being a secret in this book, and that if you master the secret in this book, that you could have any amount of abundance in your life. And I believe that this is it. This is the secret. It's tapping into understanding in a mature way what that sexual energy is, understanding and having the courage to spend some time with yourself to tap into that sexual energy, to understand what it feels like when you feel that sexual energy within you in your sacral chakra. And then you can utilize it at any time that you want to manifest and to help you in the creation of whatever it is that you want to move forward with in your life. So here we go. Um, I'm not going to read, I'm going to just kind of skip through because I don't want to take too much time here. But the meaning of the word transmute is, in simple language, the changing or transferring of one element or form of energy into another. The emotion of sex brings into being a state of mind. Because of ignorance on the subject, ignorance meaning you're not educated, and I'm educating you, this state of mind is generally associated with the physical. Because of improper influences to which most people have been subjected in acquiring knowledge of sex, things essentially physically have highly biased the mind. The emotion of sex has behind it the possibility of three constructive potentialities. Number one, the perpetuation of humankind. That's powerful. Number two, the maintenance of health as a therapeutic agency. It has no equal. And number three, the transformation of mediocrity into genius through transmutation. It's powerful. Um, sex transmutation is simply and easily explained. It means the switching of the mind from thoughts of physical expression to thoughts of some other nature. I just said if you have the courage to spend some time with yourself. When you tap into and you are courageous enough to spend some time with yourself to experience the sexual energy within yourself and what that feels like, and then you're able to transmute it into something outside of um, that physical expression of it's of a completely different nature. You'll know. It's mind-blowing. Um, do I want to read all this for you guys? Let me read it. Okay. The sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. When driven by this desire, people develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them and at other times. So strong and impelling is the desire for sexual contact that people freely run the risk of life and reputation to indulge in it. And we're not talking about that. That's the animalistic. When harnessed and redirected along other lines, the positive attributes of this motivating force may be used as powerful creative forces in literature, art, or in any other profession or calling. Indulging, of course, the accumulation of riches. So, just as I was saying, it's not about the animalistic, physical. act of sex. It's not about the orgasm. The goal is not even to reach orgasm. When you talk about connecting with your sexual energy and sex transmutation, that is not the goal. Um, that can be dangerous and that can lead into obsession of a sexual nature. This is understanding the sacredness of the sexual energy that lies at your sacral and moving into that space to understand it and experience it with a much it's more of a spiritual experience. It's not physical. The transmutation of sex energy calls for the exercise of willpower to be sure, but the reward is worth the effort. The desire for sexual expression is inborn and natural. It's inborn. Something happens to you internally when you experience this. Um, the desire cannot and should not be submerged or eliminated, but it should be given an outlet through forms of expression that enrich the body, the mind, and the spirit. So it's not being submerged in that sexual energy when you feel it to want to orgasm or take it in an animalistic way, but it's taking that energy, feeling it, and then turning it into a piece of art or into your music or into writing or into something else. And having the willpower and the strength to understand that energy, maturity enough to be moving into that space in a courageous way. Um, and um, understanding the power that it has in the creation for you in your life experience. I just wanted to read one last line here. Um, Indeed are those who have discovered how to give sex emotion and outlet through some form of creative effort. For they have, by that discovery, lifted themselves to the status of genius. So I am going to leave you with that. And thank you so much for spending this time with me. And actually, no, I'm about to leave you. And I had actually one more thing that I wanted to say I didn't want to leave you with this. Sorry. I told you, you never know what to expect that's going to come out of my mouth here. I'm like ready to bounce because I'm like, I've been on this too long and I think I'm taking up people's time. But what I wanted to leave with is the erroneous zones. And I wanted to, I'm sure you guys have heard of the erroneous zones if you haven't already, but they're parts of our body that are stimulating that sexual energy. And that sexual energy, again, it lies within your sacral chakra. And when we take time, there is music. You can go to YouTube. There's tantric sexual music that you can play. It's very relaxing. It's very meditative. Create your space, light some candles, be by yourself. That's a whole other level. We're talking about manifesting and just understanding, just to understand what the feeling feels like. This is not, again, an a sexual, physical experience. This is not an objective for orgasm. This is a spiritual experience to connect with the divine creative sexual energy that lies in your sacral chakra by yourself, for the intention of creating and working with that creative energy so you understand what it feels like. So we want to work with our space. So create your space, however it is for you to relax alone, set your music, set the tone, light some candles, incense, whatever it is for you. Um, and then you want to understand the erroneous zones. And I am going to go through some of them. These are the ones that are used for this practice. The other ones are for a whole other level that I'm not even getting into. But basically, your fingertips, the palms of your hand, your neck, your stomach, your shoulders, and the bottom of your feet. These are erroneous zones. So these are spaces where you can just spend time, embrace, touch, tune in, and just be in a quiet space so you can feel that energy, understand what that energy is. And as you feel it, understand it, start to plant your seeds. Start to set your intentions. Start to think about the details of how you want to move forward in the Virgo, the Pisces, and how that whole relational experience works for you. So Now I'm done. Until next time. Signing